Howdy and welcome to this new single scoop. I'm OldR and today I'm joined by my friend Mecca, who is the first guest in the history of K-Pop Sundaes.
Yay! Yes. So, hi, my name is Mecca, as she mentioned, and I'm actually a really big first generation and second generation K-pop fan, as I got into K-pop at the heyday of the second generation, and I'm happy to be here and happy to be the first official yet unofficial guest.
You're official. You're official. We have nobody outside of Min, JR, and I have done anything. So you are the first. So today, the reason why I invited Mecca was that we're going to be talking about something that we have never talked about in K-Pop Sundaes. We've never done an episode or a post like this. We are only going to be talking about one artist and one song. As you can probably tell by the title, today we're going to be talking about Kangta's new song, Freezing. Before we dive into the release itself, here's some relevant background information. First off, Kangta is celebrating his 25th anniversary as an idol this year. He first debuted in 1996 as the main vocal and visual of HOT, and after they disbanded, he went on to be a successful solo artist as well as an actor, radio DJ, and even director at SM. His most famous songs are Hope, which he wrote during the Asian financial crisis for HOT's third album, Resurrection, in 1998, and Polaris, which was his debut solo song in 2001. Generally, if someone is talking about his discography, they will refer to either of those two tracks first, because they are the most well-known and beloved. Previously, his last release was his last mini-album, Home, in 2016. He was supposed to release Love Song in 2019, but due to a dating scandal, not only was that promotion canceled, but he also had to pull out of Hedwig and the Angry Inch, which he was set to appear in. Except for a few appearances, such as HOT's 2019 concert, and to congratulate junior artists on their anniversaries, he hasn't really been seen much until the start of this year. He performed Cough Syrup at SM Entertainment's Hope concert on New Year's, but then we didn't hear anything else until he officially dropped a music video for that song, and then it became available for streaming. On Sunday, March 21st, the first teaser for Freezing appeared on SM's Twitter account. Although HOT and Kangta fans, including us, had been speculating that he was going to be doing something, we hadn't really expected this. Not only did we get Freezing 3 days after the first teaser, but we also got a release schedule that showed him planning to make 3 other comebacks this year in June, September, and December. Now that you've got the background, let's talk about the track and our thoughts on it.
Well, personally, I just think that it's almost a very unexpected release and a very unexpected track for Kangta. I mean, usually when he puts out tracks, they're very much just ballad songs. Sometimes they may be R&B, but usually they're very much just ballad songs. We have gotten the occasional jazz song and jazz single. There was Thanks 8, which was off his, or Thanks God, whatever you want to call it, off the Polaris album. And I mean, so we kind of have an idea and what it would be like to get a full jazz kind of track, or maybe even possibly an album from Kangta, but this one is really different and I really enjoy it.
That, and also once again going into the unexpected, it was so unexpected. We just thought it was going to be Cough Syrup, then we wouldn't hear anything else until September. There's a lot of HOT fans who theorize that, oh, there's going to be something in September. They've done either a reunion concert or special merch release, or there's been some information that dropped. There's been something that they've done and that they've planned long term. And because they won the lawsuit about their name and trademark, we thought, oh, then they're going to be doing something great this year. But this whole release was not expected, to the point, because he'd stayed off of social media for so long, it got to the point where there were some fans that were using either his official hashtag or just adding his account, and they would just write just dumb comments or writing stuff because they thought he wouldn't see it. So there was a mini panic in the fandom for the people who were doing it. Just stupid jokes. And only 3 days between a release? And it's a digital single, which I feel like is different from the SM stations, because this is fully his discography, not just something for SM. which sometimes
Mm-hmm.
stuff you do for SM, like the SM stations, doesn't get added to their discography. It doesn't count, some people feel like. So this is totally him, but only 3 days. And then you compare that to other artists who like get like weeks or like a whole month, which I'm wondering how much it's going to impact long term his views, and also like long term people finding this. Like
Exactly.
it's only at, as the time that I'm watching it, it's only at 169,000 views, and it released Wednesday, which that's typically, I was looking at on average how many views he gets on his music videos. Typically for him, it's between 100,000 to 300,000. There's only one that reached 1 million that I saw, and it wasn't Polaris. Polaris is still under 200,000, which is weird to me
Yes.
because it was
Mm-hmm.
uploaded on the SM channel in 2009.
I believe the one that you're probably thinking of, out of off the top of my head, that I remember when I take a look at Kangta's views, it might have been Break a Shaka. That actually might have been the one that hit 1 million. Then it had to have been that because the view counter, of course, as we know, is broken on Scandal's video. So I think it was that one. The original, I don't know why it's called that, because the original track, the track itself that's written in Chinese, the characters for it, I think it means like love breakdown or love frequency, something along those lines. So I don't know where they get that English title from for the track when that's not what it means. But Jomi was the one who wrote Break a Shaka. It wasn't Kangta. So
Yeah,
anyway,
he's part of the Kangta line, which is basically people who look like Kangta.
it's kind of disappointing too that his music videos don't get a lot of views, because I feel like they're not anything, I wouldn't say they're anything spectacular. Like, he doesn't really go for the whole flashy, special effects, the usual SM
Yeah.
box set. But I do think that there's a quality about them. And also, especially when Kanta was younger, I just feel like he has such a great face to be able to be on film and TV. Like, he just films
Yeah.
very well. So sometimes it's not about the music. Sometimes I'm like, I just want to stare at Kanta, so I'm going to watch a music video of his and just stare at him in the music
Yeah.
video.
It's just the
So,
fact that this was such a different genre from what he usually does, especially considered that his last release was Diner from the Home mini album, and then we were supposed to get Love Song, which was supposed to be yet another ballad. But then after that was canceled, instead of getting a ballad like we would have expected, we got Cough Syrup, which was this more upbeat jazzy, and then we have this Freezing, which is also upbeat jazzy. It's nothing to expect. The visuals are also very different. That's the thing that kind of surprised me about this. I didn't really notice it so much with Cough Syrup as I do here with Freezing. Freezing, there's certain elements of it that remind me of Polaris.
it looks expensive. I think what you're thinking of is in Polaris, they kind of have that same, not glitter, and it's not even really diamonds, but that same kind of like sparkling or like that
Yeah.
dazzling effect that they have in Polaris is the same thing that they had in Freezing. And even with the visuals too, one thing I really appreciate is the dancers. I don't know if Kangta had a hand in that or if that was SM. Like, it looks more, compared to Cough Syrup, this feels more high art, kind of high end, something that kind of classy in a way,
Yeah.
and elegant. Very much something that you can expect from Kangta himself and what we know about him personally, and just in terms of his visuals and how he's promoted. And it's something that I really enjoy. I remember watching it and looking at the dancers and thinking, wow, this is really cool. This is something that's just really not expected. And even kind of some of the effects that they used, I really enjoyed those as
I feel like
well.
Cough Syrup, it felt more like a dream. It
It
felt
did.
more like a dream that you have that's like where like your mind kind of mixes stuff up. There were certain elements that felt very dreamlike. Whereas this also, the reason why I think that it reminds me of Polaris was just the kind of bending of reality, like subtly.
Yes.
Like such as the prominence of the dancers as well as the person in white who has like the red nails. That is something that
Yes.
was so big in Polaris, where Kangta ended up
Yes.
having red. For those of you who haven't seen Polaris, it's basically him dealing with a breakup with a girl, and he's trying to turn himself into the girl, basically.
Yes.
And he's like trying to like relive like their past together. And so at the very end, you do see him with like, these long red nails, and this style of red nail is exactly that same shade, same shape. Everything is exactly like that. And then the person in white, it kind of reminds me of Polaris, but it's also very mysterious because it's like, who is that person in white? Because the person in white at one point hugs one of the dancers. And also the
Yes,
person in white, though, you can't tell if it's a guy or girl. Like, that's the
exactly.
kind of interesting because, like, yes, there is a skirt, but like the form and also like the way that the face is being hidden, you can't tell. And especially because like there's like this melting that goes over some of the dancers' faces, you can't tell. I think the difference between Kangta versus old HOT discography and also Heejun's discography is that with this, I can't piece it apart necessarily and say, oh, this for sure is based off of blank and blank. Like, whereas like with
Right.
HOT, it was always something geared in reality. It was always something based. It was something we don't know if
Yes.
this one, whether it was like whoever was directing it, if it was a personal life thing, we don't know. We can
Mhm.
always speculate. This is the second release this year where he's worn a sweater, but that's also the season. And also, he wore that same style for Diner, for the music video for that.
Right.
So the difference is, though, between that outfit and this one, I feel like it's just how he wears it. I feel like it's more like a comfort thing.
Yes. But also too, one thing I've noticed, at least in terms of not only just Kangta and the lyrics, but artists in general, everybody is dropping breakup tracks this
Yeah.
year. Is it just because of the pandemic? And we've been stuck in the house for so long, so a lot of people are just reevaluating their relationships, not only to themselves, but also to each other. So I've noticed a lot of divorces and breakups this year, but it's also kind of like, there's enough, sadness in the world, and I'm not saying that he needs to put out like a summer theme track, or like he needs to do anything upbeat and happy. But I feel like lately, and not just even with Kangta, but with the world in general, I feel like everybody's trending towards more of this like kind of like breakup or sad
Yeah.
kind of reflective track. And it's not a bad thing. Definitely self-reflection is great, and reflecting on your interpersonal relationships is great. But I personally just would like a break from it. I wouldn't
Yeah.
say I don't want to hear it at all, because we all go through breakups and we all go through turbulent times, to say the least. I very much would maybe like another type of track, but at least this isn't as heavy on the sadness and the tragedy as Polaris was. Out of all the tracks
Rain.
he's done in reference to a break, or Rain, yes, but out of all the tracks he's done, this one is definitely on the lighter end of the sad, more reflective lyrics of
I feel
his
like he's
music.
thinking about himself and his reaction. Like, my favorite lyric in this song was, I bet myself again on our good memories. Like, he's betting, like, oh, don't leave this relationship because of the good memories. Like, stay for this.
Yeah, like, yes, we're going through a lot right now, but also, think about all the good times we've had. Like, maybe it's not always going to be like this, because, we've had the moments that we've had. But also too, it's kind of like, I really want to know. I don't know if this is based on personal experience, and a lot of what I've read about Kangta and just his personal life and his dating life, I don't know if that's even 100% correct, or if it's speculation, especially because with not only just him, and especially because Kangta back in the day had a very high profile, and he was very much a popular and, well-loved celebrity, and we didn't really know much of what was going on in his personal life. I don't think that, he would be more open or public about dating if he was, but given what we know about his dating life, I'm kind of like, who's been hurting you, sir? Like, who do we need to go after? Because the lyrics in the song very much describe like a push and pull kind of relationship. Like, he's sitting there and he's thinking, oh, she's mad again, and oh, she's upset with me again, and here we go again, kind of is what it reminds me of. Like, oh, you're giving me the cold shoulder, you're freezing
It
me
kind of
out
feels like he
again.
wants to leave, but like he doesn't feel like he
Yeah.
can. And like he's like, okay, I'm hearing these like words, but I don't feel like I can leave. What are you looking forward from the rest of the releases this year? What would be like one thing that you would want to see out of him? September's the one I'm the most anxious for obvious reasons. But
Mhm.
June, I would like to see something like Scandal, or I would like to see
Mhm.
him go heavy metal or metal.
Yes, I very much would love to
I
see
think
it
we should
too.
also explain that before debut, Kangta was originally, he liked a lot of different types of music, but he was considering himself to basically sing heavy metal music. That had been like, okay, I'm going to pursue that when I debut. But then he was in Yu Young-jin's car and he heard Brian McKnight, and suddenly he's like, I'm going to be an R&B singer.
Yes, and he personally himself trained him to be an R&B
Yeah,
singer.
Yu Young-jin's got the voice for it, so of course he can find that in Kangta. But just the idea of him doing a heavy metal album, I can't even imagine what it would sound like. Like June, I could see it because there were certain things he was doing during HOT. I could see it. Kangta, I can't imagine it, but imagine if he did that though. That would be unlike anything he's done before.
I'm personally thinking him and Changmin from Dongbang Shingi really need to do a rock album. Like, if they don't do it, I will personally fly myself to Korea to find somebody to be like, look, you both need to do a rock album. Not like collabing, but just on their own individually do a rock album. But I would love to, hear it from them because I don't know what it would sound like for Kangta, but for Changmin, we have an idea of what that would sound like if he did. I'm sitting here trying to think of the image, and all I can think of is imagining Kangta, but in triangle costume, the costumes that they wore for Triangle.
Yes,
oh my
with
gosh,
the spiky
that's
hair.
all I can think of. Yes. And like the big crosses and the like the visual K. I actually would, now that I'm thinking about it, I think he could do more of like a low key visual K type of style if they really wanted to market him as that. If not, maybe I would love to hear more of like a pop song or like a pop track or even R&B. Like, it doesn't, like, among a more of like a Yu Young Jin style of R&B. Like, he doesn't need to put out like a very cute pop song per se, and he doesn't need to be like cute to do it, but I would love to just see like just regular music from Kangta, because I think that's part of the hard thing to like appeal to younger people, especially people my age group, to get into his music. Like, it's all basically ballads. I would be hard pressed to understand why or what the appeal is behind him as an artist and his music if I'm like, most of this is ballads and it's stuff that I don't listen to on a primary basis. But I mean, also, I'm familiar with the foundations of like jazz and classical and all different types of genres of music. So I can understand where Kangta and where his inspiration and where his sound comes from. But personally, I would just love to see him diversify that. I don't think, he's done with music at all, knowing his personality and who he is. I don't think he's done with music at all. But I would also love to see him promoted or love to see him in a different vein or in a different light. So who knows? We'll never know. We don't know with SM especially, and we definitely don't know with Kangta what Kangta has planned. But I'm hoping that it's something interesting. I'm hoping that it's something fresh. I'm hoping that it's possibly something that could reinvigorate him the way that cough syrup and freezing have kind of done, to where people are somewhat interested.
I think it'd be interesting if he did something like
Top Star. Oh my gosh, it'd be complete with the whole gag music video and just the way it was just absolutely goofy and just ridiculous. That including the auto tune. I'd love to hear just a track where Kangta obviously has auto tune on it. That'd be hilarious. But I can't see him doing that. I don't think Kangta is boring per se as a person or his personality. It just seems to me that he's more reserved. Like, he very much leans into the fact that he obviously has charisma and he obviously has star appeal and he can be a pop star, but I think he's more on the reserved end when it comes to like his image and it comes to his music.
I feel like when he's around senior artists or like older people that he knows, he lights up. Like, that's part of the reason why I feel like a lot of people stereotype him as being boring, because it takes certain people to sort of bring him out. Or like they say, like, when you sit down with him one-on-one, he's not that boring. The problem is he comes off as it. So I feel like if he had something that's more upbeat, something more strange and out of the norm for him, that then other people would give him a chance.
Right. But I also feel like it's just because he's not promoted that well. And I don't know if you remember this, but I don't remember the name of the program, but it was when he was with Kyuhyun from Super Junior, and they were both together. And obviously people know who Super Junior is, and they know especially who Kyuhyun is for his personality. But like, no one recognized who he was, and people weren't really asking him questions. And this was also around the time when Diner had come out. So Diner very much was like, I'm gonna be honest with you, it was boring.
Kangta said, he's like, yeah, I know what it is. He was just like, that's just me right now. I'm just boring right now.
And I'm hoping too that maybe what I'd also like to see from him is I've seen quite a few different idols lately, especially some of the older ones. They don't already have a YouTube channel. They've been live streaming. I'm mad that I keep missing their live stream, or just a lot of idols have gone on Instagram and just been live on Instagram and just kind of connecting with their fans and talking to their fans, but maybe like just a YouTube channel. I think social media, whether he gets back on social media, if he doesn't, given his most recent scandal, I understand that, but at least like a YouTube channel or whatever he's planning to put out, or at the very least, if after his promotions are over and, you know, their anniversary celebrations are over, I'd love to just kind of see more of what he does within his personal life. I mean, of course he's busy being SM's creative director. I don't think they pay him to just sit around and do nothing. So I'd love to see what he does within his free
And do we
time.
think that there's anything, I don't want to go to like high school English class with this, but do you think that with freezing, do you think that there's anything with the color that we should pay attention to? Like the white sweater, also the person in white, I instantly think of HOT, but considering that it's about freezing and the only people who have got color are the dancers. Kangta wears a blue suit at one point, and also the red nails. Everybody except Kangta has red nails.
So his dancers are in red. He's primarily in white and blue. There's a bit of black, I think, with the turtleneck. I want to say that there was gray, but it's been a minute since I watched the music video, so I would have to go back. But I do think the colors definitely mean something. I think the dancers are kind of like trying to warm him up as he's kind of explaining that, you know, he's freezing and he's being frozen out, and, you know, where he's kind of describing the push and pull of, you know, being in the type of relationship that he's describing. So I definitely do think there's meaning, but I don't think it's anything deeper than what we're seeing on the surface with the colors and given the lyrics. So I don't think there's anything much more that we could dive into or what we can analyze, but knowing him, this is an HOT.
Here's the thing. I think that it's been 2 years. I think he can come back to it, because if he's releasing music and is doing public interviews, I don't see why he's not back on Instagram. But then my other thing is that I think there's also an issue. There's a disconnect between media sources with older first generation artists, because when he released Cough Syrup, like the full music video for it, the only like English speaking news source I found that's talked about it was What the K-Pop. Then for this, there have been more outlets that have been reporting on it, but there's still been quite a bit of a delay on reporting on it, as well as mentioning. I think it stops what could potentially get more people to be aware of it and get involved. But that also, once again, that whole last minute release, that didn't help. And just like, oh, we're just throwing it out there. Like, this is a release. Like, the thing I don't get is that if you're putting so much money into releasing and doing, once again, a music video for this, and you're only releasing it as a digital single, not like a physical copy or something like that, and it's only one song, plus also you can get the instrumental, why aren't you promoting it more? Twitter's free. YouTube is free. Google is free. Naver is free. Kind of weird to navigate, but it's free. Dumb. I don't understand why more companies don't utilize it.
I think it's because they just don't know.
But the only problem with that, though, is that they do that for their junior group. Compared to how they promoted Super Junior versus NCT and WayV. Compared to how they've promoted Kangta versus Baekhyun in the same sort of time period. There's a huge difference. There's absolutely a bias. And I think obviously besides the age and they've got fans to lean on, they have all these venues. They're the same venues. It's just that they choose. And obviously it could be Kangta saying, okay, we are just doing it right now. Sort of, he might have rushed it. That's quite possible that he went, you know what, we need a release before the end of March. I need to get a schedule. But to get a music video and all this like production and music and stuff like that together, and obviously like the dancers have a routine, as it were, in some cases. It's not like, hey, we're gonna go on a trip and we're gonna do this real quick. This has got to be something that's planned for a while.
So the fact that they didn't really announce it earlier just kind of has me like, okay, SM, all right, whatever.
That's my biggest critique about this, is not necessarily on Kangta, it's how it was handled, the media.
Yes.
It was how the media was handled, the announcement was handled. And if you want to hype people up for a comeback, you gotta put stuff out there, not just back to back to back to back. Oh, it's coming, it's here, goodbye, which is how it's been handled.
But I think it's like that even in the industry overall. You've got so many people now, especially given the type of culture that we as Americans live in, or even just Western countries in general, especially in a Western capitalistic society, even kind of like Korea, for instance. It's very consumer driven, and, you know, there's so many people now, especially artists, and I see this a lot, they're more focused on quantity because, they could put out a single, put out an album, whatever. And instead of people enjoying it and kind of talking about it and discussing it and critiquing it and just really enjoying it, you got people who play the track or play the album and then are like, all right, okay, next, what's next? When are you going to put out the next song, the next album, whatever? And so now you've got people who are quantity driven rather than quality driven. And I think especially if you're a high quality or you're a good quality artist, instead of listening to the fans or the industry and going, okay, I need to put out the next song after the next song after this, I think they really should focus more on the quality than anything else. And I think a lot of people forget that, especially within the type of society and the type of time that we live in. People are very much consumer driven, so they're kind of like consume, 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 rather than just sit back and enjoy it, And that's very much what I love about this, is that it's not a beat song, but it's not a ballad either. It's something that causes you to stop and just kind of listen, and it's very relaxing.
I think that's a good way to word it. I like that. I like that. Mm-hmm. I'm going to use that everywhere now to explain this. When you're trying to say, what's the appeal of Kangta and freezing? It's just to get you to stop and listen to a song.
Exactly.
I feel like that's, and also I feel like that's a very Kangta way of approaching it too.
Yes.
I'd like to see something like Hope at some point where it's not just yet another breakup song from him.
Yes.
But at the same time, though, him just focusing on let's make a masterpiece. I feel like that's also kind of nice.
I think maybe he could do it, possibly. There's a way that he could do it, but I think at his age and at this time and point, it might come off as a little fake. And the last thing I would want is for people to go, well, Kangta's doing this because, it's fake, or Kangta makes enough money between being a creative director and also being invested within the company. Why would he want to talk about news again, And I'm not saying no one should do it. And I'm not saying that, no one should remain ignorant of things that are going on, but I just think it might be a little bit much. And I don't know if there's a way that he could do it to where it would come off as genuine.
I think that he could do it, but I think the problem is that how? Because, and I don't know if you know who Anthony Fantano is.
He's the needle drop.
Yeah, he's a music critic. He's a music critic. And he once said that there's a lot of people out there who are making songs about problems that are going on in the world, who are making critiques, and who focus so much on the message that they forget to make the music.
Yes.
I think that if he's going to do critique or something to cheer up the people or something, or it could be something as wild like Scandal or something goofy, I think he could do something like that, and I think that that'd be hilarious. I think that would be a good thing for him to do, just because then people wouldn't call him boring. It's like, no, he does have this extremely goofy side to him, and I wish that newer artists who don't know that whole history would get to see it.
Exactly.
Like, even with Group S, a lot of people don't remember that. The main thing I just hope is that it's continues to be different, continues to surprise people, continues to get people interested, get people to stop and listen to music. It's not the thing that they expect from K-pop, the thing that they don't hear every day from either younger artists or even older artists who are continuing.
Exactly.
He's proven that he can do a variety of different styles in a variety of different lyrics. He's very good at adapting.
Right.
So I would love to see that. That's my main hope. And I feel like I have that hope because of freezing.
Yes, I do too. So I'm hoping that we see something different.
So,
in conclusion,
we enjoy it because it's not what we expected, and we highly doubt it's something you will expect. Just, if you're going to listen to the track, it's just something to make you stop and think, listen, just consume art that you normally wouldn't. That's what we just ask you to do. If you don't care about anything else this year, just stop for a moment. Just pause. Listen to some music.
And also, please go watch his music videos. We're tired of his music videos having very low views. Enjoy the video as well. Also, if you can, definitely to support the artist, make sure you buy the track if you can. If not, of course, stream it on Apple Music, Spotify, Kakao, whatever, Naver, whatever you use to stream. Definitely just, also stream it as well so we can give Kangta, his little 50 cents or whatever artists get from streaming. Also definitely, listen to it on those platforms as well.
He's got 3 or 4 dogs. He needs to pay for their toys.
Exactly.
Please.
Exactly. Not his children, but he needs to feed the dogs. Yes.
And also just in case Tony and anybody else comes over and just invades his house and uses his sauna or demands that they cook for him, he's got to have food in his fridge. Please.
Exactly.
We beg you.
Yes, put food on the table.
He doesn't have his stock in there anymore, so that's one less revenue
He
stream.
sold it. So yeah, definitely go support Kangta, please, before he ends up broke.
He ain't broke now, but he could be.
Exactly. Later. Not today, but later.
He's an artist.
Yes.
Please make sure that he stays an artist.
Yes, exactly.
So, we hope that you enjoyed this. This is very different from what we've ever done. And so thank you to Mecca for being my first guest.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, this was exciting. Also, somebody who is just as into older stuff as me, that's not so obscure. Because Min's into obscure stuff that I can't keep up with her on. I call myself the main person who does old stuff on the K-pop stuff, but she's got some knowledge behind her. So, if you enjoyed it, please subscribe to us, comment, rate us very highly. Follow us on social media at K-Pop Sundaes. Yes, it's Sundaes with an S now. That's our official thing. We're changing it. We'll discuss that at a different time. Follow us on Instagram. We're actually trying to make sense of that. Follow us on Twitter. Yes, thank you for listening to this. Once again, thank you so much.
Yep, thank you.
Annyeong.